Philadelphia. Welcome to week one, baby. Whew. I know I promised way more episodes this summer, and I apologize. I didn't get to any of them. And there is still more news to share with you, for sure. And I can't wait to do that. It just didn't happen to be at the time that I thought it was happening. But I am so jacked that the season is here. More or less because I know how you're feeling right now. I'm going to get to that in a second, but I want to assure you, if you've been waiting for an answer on hey, John, why did the podcast suddenly go away after all the hubbub last year? I'm going to answer those things, tell you where I'm at now, my expectations for the podcast moving forward, and how many times you're actually going to hear my voice, which is probably going to be twice a week, by the way. We'll just get that out of the way. And Thursday, today, is always going to be a time when you can hear a preview podcast, my thoughts on the week, and obviously we want to get back to the YouTube, the live show, and all that. So I'm going to try that out Friday night, and I have the utmost respect for Verizon customer service, as always. So just wanted to put that in front, but I wanted to tell you this. I know how you're feeling because everybody is trying to make you feel scared. I saw my good friend Ben in my DMs pretty much telling me the same thing when he sees the Devin White news of, hey, I don't know if you knew this, but the starting linebacker of the Philadelphia Eagles suddenly got injured during a warm-up session and will not be taking the flight down to Brazil, which means Nakobe Dean is going to be taking over. And then when you kind of pick and prod the rest of the offseason and everybody reminding you of what happened last offseason and most of these horrific QB power rankings and horrendous takes from national media people that I'm not even going to mention because you already know the culprits and we bite the cheese so easily in this town and we know who kind of, gets our goats. So I am not scared of the Packers this season, what we're about to witness. There are going to be the same type of bumps in the road early on. Absolutely. Could the Eagles go to Brazil right now and lay a fucking goose egg? Absolutely, they could. I just don't believe that. There are so many people that want Jordan Love to be a god, and he is a great quarterback. I think, I bitched about it on the very last episode that I did, where if you want a QB factory, they seem to have a pretty good formula, and no one wants to develop quarterbacks anymore, right? So unearthing this is great because all of the people that loved Jordan Love and thought he got drafted way too low are now celebrating all of this. Shio Kapadia obviously had to think about, would I take Jalen Hurts over Jordan Love? A bunch of people have questioned that throughout this entire year, which is hilarious to me based on what we know about Jalen Hurts already and his development. And yet, because he's paid, and this is pretty much the fucking formula for judging quarterbacks all the time. Jordan Love is this developmental guy that nobody really thought was going to be anything, and he now has ascended to a $220 million contract over 4 years, 75 signing, 55 or 160 that is guaranteed. I mean, good for him. And this is not to shit on Jordan Love at all. I think he's a really great quarterback. I think he's going to be around for the Packers for a long time, obviously by the numbers that I just said, but in terms of talent and, very smart kid, pisses a lot of his own fan base off with the way he dresses, which I really enjoy. So I'm all about that. However, it's funny to me that there is a Jordan Love fest because of that development, because we've able to see him grow from, I don't know if this guy's going to work out to probably a bona fide superstar in this league, right? And now that Jalen Hurts has done that and he got paid, and that was kind of the celebration for everybody that hung on, like you and me yelling at everybody going, fuck you, Jalen Hurts is going to be great one day, and you just need to allow him to develop and the same shit that everybody says about Jordan Love. And yet, now that everybody looks at these two guys, this is the Jalen Hurts year. I guarantee you by the end of this year, everybody's questioning Jordan Love. And he'll probably play just as good, just as good as he did last year, and everyone will hate it, just like Jalen Hurts just went through last year when he got paid. It's not just a singular thing when it comes to paying the quarterback and really critiquing it like it's the only thing that happens in Philadelphia. That happens in every city, in every fan base. And Jordan Love has an enormous amount of pressure on him. You know, like the Packers fan base still wants to shit all over Aaron Rodgers. And if Aaron Rodgers' Achilles magically, stays together for more than 5 snaps this time, I would say that there's still a vendetta from that man's noggin on Jordan Love and the Packers organization, right? Because before Aaron Rodgers and all this bullshit, Brett Favre did the same thing to him, and so on and so on. The Packers have a more historic quarterback franchise. The fucking trophies named after them. Like, it's the Midwest, and they're friendly as hell, and I know that because I grew up there. I'm an Iowa kid that went to Wisconsin all of the time. Green Bay kicks ass. I've never been to Lambeau still. I've just kind of driven by it, but Milwaukee's a lot cooler. It's Chicago North. I love all that. The cheese curds. I would never talk shit on the great state of Wisconsin, except when it comes to Sundays and this stuff, because you guys are just as fucking ridiculous as we are when it comes to this stuff, And that has, good luck is what I'm saying to Jordan Love. Good luck if you come out with this game in a stinker. And on the other side of this is why I'm so excited, again, for this season, because like I said, the same thing happened to Jalen Hurts. Our local media started yipping and yapping about, is he that good? And no one was laying it thick onto Nick Sirianni until much later on in the season, and they did kind of put it on QB1, and I can't wait to say fuck you to all those guys. I don't know if you remember last year at all. I'm just here to remind you, but that's how I felt coming into last season with Jalen Hurts, is what Jordan Love is about to experience right now. You knew this was coming. Like, they just lost the Super Bowl. It's historically the quarterback loses the Super Bowl and gets paid, and then everybody else, and then the Hassan Reddick shit that thank God no one's dealing with anymore. But I mean, that happened. There was a ton of drama going on last season. A ton of it. A ton of, I'm going to do this, we're going to do that. I don't need to sell you on that. You've been fucking reading it the whole offseason. What the hell am I trying to tell you that for? You know what I'm saying? Every time in Jalen Hurts' career that there has been a roadblock, he doesn't go around it. He doesn't jump over it. He just plows through that fucking thing. The man called Wink Martindale in week 18. He is right. And like, I know you're getting pissed off even at his quotes a little bit leading up to this week, leading up to like, well, what happened to you and Nick? No one seems to like Jalen Hurts' answers anymore because he hasn't been winning lately. And that is literally it. That everything else that you have heard this offseason is all fucking noise that gets piled on and on and on. And the Eagles are a very easy target. So when I see the Ringer put out that Jalen Hurts is the 17th best quarterback in the league, I know it's there to piss me off. And I'm trying to restrain myself from going over to Steven Ruiz with the cold fucking dead fish and slapping him with it and trying to ask him why he put Geno Smith 7 fucking spots higher. So if Jalen Hurts reads that, if the Eagles start reading that, that's a good thing. People shitting on the Eagles coming into the season starting is a wonderful thing. And it's been louder and louder and louder. And like, this is just a natural part here too. I'm not blaming anybody. I love the Kelceys. I think they're awesome. Everything that they're doing, including the $100 million deal with Amazon, is amazing. Even though, bro, you guys, who is your agent? Holy shit, you should have been getting way more than that. Anyway, there's an inherent hate to be like, Jason just retired. It's associated with the Eagles. Taylor Swift will always be associated with the Eagles and Chiefs, no matter how you slice it. That's going to stay here. So people fucking still hate that about us too, through no fault of anybody. It's just happenstance and success. And everybody hates when you get to a certain point of success and you're in their face all the time. That is just natural. And we as a fan base are just too fucking annoying for everyone to handle, which is really just our way of being funny. And no one can handle our funny a lot of the time. We're like number one at that. So I don't know how I got here, but all I'm trying to say is I hope you are ready for one of the most pettiest Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown seasons that you have ever seen in your life. Not to mention that, yes, I have my concerns about Saquon Barkley working out long term, but as long as we're talking about keeping it in with this season, oh my God, it's a fuck you season for him too. Completely. Do you think that man has heard how many times that CMC's the best running back in the fucking land and blah, blah, blah? He's not just a running back, he's a multi-use weapon and he's been stuck with Danny fucking Dimes and the rest of that jerk-off organization for how? I mean, guys, there is, when AJ apparently gets so mad at whatever happened last offseason that we start hearing rumors of him going, hey, man, you guys got to fix this shit. Does that look like a man that likes to lose? I think not. If you add all these things up together, one, this equals an easy win against the Packers. And I don't care if it's Brazil and Darius Slay is kidnapped and handcuffed moments before the game, which has been a ridiculous storyline. I'm so tired of talking about it just from defending. I mean, Jesus, guys. I can't go to that country. It's got a lot of crime in it. Have you looked around? This is going to end up like every Eagles-Packers game that I can remember. Saquon Barkley is going to have at least 2 touchdowns in this game, and I'm not even saying it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I've got it 26-21. That's where I'm at. 26-21, and Packers always get crushed by the Eagles when they run the football. Always. It doesn't matter who the defensive coordinator is. Their talent, which is always just a bunch of freaking tweeners that can kind of cover and kind of pass rush and kind of, and they'll make plays and they have great takeaways. But I mean, like, they get run over like a truck. And yes, speaking of, no one has mentioned Cam Jurgens. No one's mentioned, like, has it been looking weird? Has it been looking this and that? Nothing. So yes, I'm sure there will be some adjusting. And this is basically our preseason games here. You know, you're going to be seeing probably like a lot of Saquon, a lot of Jalen. I wouldn't be surprised. I didn't bet it this way, but I wouldn't be surprised if it turns into a Saquon Hurts, Dallas Goddard type of game, right? I don't think that's going to happen. I primarily think, you know, you're going to see a ton of deep shots mixed in with Saquon getting like 6 or 7 yards at a clip. And if we're starting there, boy, oh boy, is it going to be a long game. And I know Barney's already freaking fired up and ready to fight with Ryan and Taboo about running the football in the Discord. And we'll all be merry by the end of this one. And we will have so many complaints about the defense. So many. That is the one thing that this, going back to what Ben said about the whole Devin White situation. And it's not even the linebacker thing that scares me. It's just, there's so much to relearn again. You had to, worry about Cooper DeJean, and clearly, as my fears are confirmed here, like, he is not going to see the field. I wouldn't be surprised to me at all if he's completely inactive for a couple of games as this thing moves on. The James Bradbury thing was weird. Like, they're just trying to make pieces fit and happen, and I really think that gap year, man, it might have fucked him. That's what I keep thinking. Like, shit. Like, not only is it a delay in scheme to wait for Vic Fangio, it's also probably a delay in an entire year of personnel, And I have a suspicion that CJGJ and Vic Fangio are on polar opposites of the earth, and that's not Vic's job because that's how he's called, and it'll always be that way. But it just doesn't seem like, Vic is overly happy despite what he might say in a press conference. Just kind of looking at it from a schematic basis, and the type of players that he's used before in the past, some of it really doesn't match up from a safety perspective to me. So, whatever, I don't think, and I'll just say it, for the first time, I am genuinely concerned about Darius Slay. Not in terms of his ability, because, we know what he is right now. And I don't think that there's like all the gas is gone. I think he's got one more fantastic season in him. I really do in terms of that. I don't know. He doesn't seem like a part of the team to me. Does that make sense? Like, I know he's going to do his job. I'm not concerned about him being a locker room problem. None of that. None of that. And I'm not even saying he's a bad teammate. I just doesn't seem like, okay, cool, I'm here to do my job, and I know if we play well, I'll probably end up playing better, and I'll be the same old type of Darius Slay. But man, if this thing gets rotten on the defense, and I'm a squelch worried, and that could be why there's so many DB heavy. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know already, because we know this is probably Darius Slay's last year, and I really don't know how that's going to affect the overall defensive feel, because like this is a complete transitional move now. Darius Slay's a captain, so I'm not saying that he's going to blow up the locker room or become a nuisance or none of that. None of that. Plus, I still think, despite what you might think of him, because he says dumb stuff like, I apologize if I offended anybody for insulting Brazil, basically. And I don't care if you have a podcast. I don't care. People give a shit about all of that. I mean, Jesus Christ, CJGJ had one of the worst rap songs of all time come out this offseason, and you probably forgot about it because Antonio Brown ripped it apart, and he was actually right. Do whatever you want. I just talked about the Kelce's. Go get money. Go do all of that. And you might be saying, John, Jason Kelce's been doing that for a while, and he knew he was retiring, and he was the number one starter, and that is very true. But we've known Jason Kelce's character for frickin' 12 years. That's all. And it's not like the fans are treating them any better. And I'm, you know what I mean? Just from a psychological standpoint, it's like, Jesus, these people fucking hate us. I was yelling at my wife on Twitter. I'm gonna come and show up, but I'm not celebrating any of this shit, So, and I totally get it. I totally get it from Darius's side. I understand where I think he's at. He's a dad. There's a lot of shit to do. Your career is just about done, and you are pretty much content with that. And you're setting yourself up for where you need to be next. I can't be mad at that. I'm just trying to keep it in perspective for what we're kind of walking into here defensively. And I'm praying that all of my Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter takes hold up. I think you're going to be incredibly surprised by Josh Sweat, because once again, that defensive side of the ball was all coaching. All coaching. And Hassan Reddick probably bitching his ass off now that we know a little bit more about that situation. But what are you thinking? We'll be in the Discord pretty much for the next 97 hours, because I can't wait for this game to start. And last season, guys, it was really tough. So I think the best way to kind of talk about this is just, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed building a company with Vince and Taylor. I think did something incredible together in terms of starting with literally absolutely nothing and growing something into a real lifeblood forming, making money company that we're all living off of. And I think we have transcended our lives because we have done that. And unfortunately, I think it just ended up being, we really wanted different things, where the company would go next, where this podcast would go next. And around this time last year, we had to make so many decisions that weren't about the podcast of, we were helping people run their businesses through a lot of different assets, but mainly just doing production stuff. So we were making a lot of content for other people, and we had a lot of different partnerships and opportunities. We landed at this place called the Pyramid Club, which was amazing. It's and you probably heard us talking about it at one point, I believe. And we wanted to start a full-on, podcast program for everybody, for moms and dads, moms and pop shops, people that need social marketing help, all of that, and just help tell everyone's story a little better and just kind of figure out unique ways to do that. It's always way harder than you expect. The challenges are way harder you expect, and so on and so on. So, by the time we got to last year, there was a ton of things going on, a different amount of opportunities, and only so much bandwidth to kind of go chase it, at one point last year, somebody came along and offered us the potential ownership or small ownership stake in a soccer franchise in England. We were working with a soda company. We had a bunch of decisions to make and a ton of people paying us more money than the podcast was worth at that point in time. And that was our lifeblood, you know. We loved the show. We didn't want to ever stop the show. It was just coming to a point where, like, man, it's either this or that. And, you know, I've got 3 kids to look after and all that. So I didn't want to try to disappoint anybody. And that's when we started talking about, okay, who do we love in this community that could help pick up the programming and content side? Because we don't want that part to die down. And we need to go handle this business right now. And I always thought we would return this season anyway as an entire group and wanted to give you like as much unique sounding boards as possible. And honestly, I looked at it this way because I'm a big fan of the show Kill Tony, and I just love the type of platform that it created for a bunch of different comedians. And I thought, wouldn't that be cool if we could find our own version of that and allow people to kind of come up on stage or come up on a Twitch live stream or YouTube stream and just welcome people in where it's not, you know, because honestly, when you start to break that down, you're like, are we just talking about phone calls again? Like allowing people time. But I didn't want to do that. Like we wanted to try and make the next wave of Philadelphia Eagles content creators or podcasters or whatever it is. Because, you know, if you know anything about how my career started in this business, I mean, it's just podcasting didn't exist. You know, I'm that fucking old. Can you believe that? Like as a medium, podcasting was looked at like blogging and like, oh, this is for children. And radio and television, people always kind of patted us on our heads, and I always kind of took offense to that. So hence all my passion for probably why we got where we were for, you know, our entire careers, Vince included in that, by the way. But we were trying to figure out all that. The biggest thing that I was trying to get done last year, and I don't think it's the fault of anybody, it's just kind of circumstantial, and again, same thing with people trying to make decisions and what's best for them. But it looked as if Boston Scott was going to join the show last year, and I had been pursuing him for about a year and a half because I love him completely, like in terms of his character, his play on the field, like and especially as a content creator, I think he's phenomenal at it. When I tell you that dude is, if he gave his 1 billion% effort to esports, I think he'd be one of the top players in the world. I really do believe that. And he is so good at football and so fucking good at Rocket League that I don't know. Boston Scott amazes me as a human being, period, end of story. So we had several conversations with his agent at the time, and this is going back to before they were on the Super Bowl run. This was like week 4 of 2022. So, you know, I'd been talking to his agent, and unfortunately, last offseason, his agent had passed away from cancer, which I was semi-unaware of, and they were keeping very private for obvious reasons. And I had developed a really good relationship in a very short amount of time. And the fact that Cameron Weiss was his name, and he just gives, he gave so much time to me, and I wish I could give a lot of that back to his family, honestly. Like, he was him and Boston are, sorry guys, identical in personality. So, you know, Boston's got to make a lot of business decisions after that, and some things happened that I'm just going to leave it there. But I have bitched about these things in the Discord. It just, he had to go find something that was going to fit him a lot better after that. And obviously we would all do the same thing. So, I was really looking for, I'm going to tell you the idea anyway, because I just thought it was so fucking cool. And that's, sorry. It's emotional. You know, man, that's what a lot of the stuff is. Like, this is trying to fucking make art together. And it seems like it's a very easy kind of thing to do in our heads always. And the whole concept, and it was perfect. Oh, guys, it was so perfect. CMC had come out, and I think there was a couple of other running backs that had come out and said, like, this position's been devalued. I don't feel like anyone looks at the running back position the same way it did for people that are making money and all that. So I thought, what a great concept it would be to take Boston and just mic him up with just audio, and kind of do this. Is ESPN literally trying to alert us in front of this? It better be something good. It is not. The idea was to mic him up through the NFL experience of what it feels like to be a running back in the NFL day to day. And how do we see Boston a little bit more without the helmet on? I wanted to do like 2 different versions of it where we got really, really deep into audio production and make a very, very acute, like 6-7 episodes together where we just kind of hear this self-documented audio diary from Boston and then find a way to tell that story the same way visually, but also completely different. I just felt as if we got to a point of podcasting where everybody just kind of shoots the video, rips the audio from the video, and puts it into a podcast feed. And I just don't think that's interesting anymore to do. So I was going to kind of just take those 2 concepts and play with them a little bit, just to kind of see how it worked for a few episodes, and unfortunately, we just never got there. And then the other part of that is you heard it. True Bro Dude came in. I loved him, and so did the other guys. I think he's got a phenomenal show over at You Know Ball, and you should listen to him over there. But because of the timing of all this, that like it pushed everything. It pushed being able to just kind of transition over to Trill a lot smoother, to kind of introduce him a little easier. We were all scrambling on top of the business itself. Like, we were doing so many things for so many other people. It just came to a point where, honestly, I got overloaded. The guys definitely got overloaded. And then everybody just says, I don't want to fucking do this anymore. It kind of got to that pressure point, right, of just like everybody squeezing every single ounce of energy to make sure that everybody's living a sustainable life, that no one's trying to fuck anybody over, and this and that. And it just gets it just became a mess, guys. It just became a mess. And I personally was super offended with how it ended. I don't care at all that it ended. Just in how it was handled was still something I'm processing, let me just say. And I'm not holding back. I'm honestly just, I don't know what to say about it. I really don't. And I'm happy to answer more questions in the Discord, but it's just, I will say this, the way it was handled put my entire family in jeopardy in a moment's notice. And I didn't respect that part of it. And I'm sure they didn't respect a lot of the shit that I was fucking yelling at them. And I'll just say that. I don't think anybody was trying to do anything wrong. And that's what I come back to at the end of the day, and it sucks. And this is all a part of this. I don't think creating a show is any different than trying to create a band. You got to keep playing no matter with who. And it happens all the time in this business, all of the time. It's something that I know that the whole experience with Vincent Taylor was amazing because we learned so much, and that's what I kept taking from it. I knew, or it started to feel like, all right, this is going to reach a point where this business hits a certain plateau or a certain ceiling, and I don't think this direction's gonna be that. And they disagreed with that, and that's okay because I'm much happier now. They're much happier now, and I have so many more things that I want to tell you, including like I'm opening my own retail store. Me and the wonderful owner of Wrapping Papered in Conshohocken, Gabby Cable, our whole goal is to achieve ownership partnership. And I really believe in content creators and local retailers working together. and we are becoming full-on business partners, and I'm going to help her run that store. And I think I'll probably be podcasting from there a lot just because I want to find a better way to sustain media professionals' careers. That was the whole goal in mind. And what I realized is it's not just media. It's everybody. It's everyone that walked out of corporate America in the last 4 years. There's like 10 or 15 million of us that did that. That's an insane number all at once. And the more and more I learned, it's actors, it's comedians, it's bands, we're losing art, y'all. No one wants to create new original art anymore. And that, to me, is silly, and the only reason is because no one knows how to get paid. It's just the education part. That's what I want to tell you. No one knows how to get paid, but it doesn't mean people can't and won't get paid. We have to design a completely new system, and I know this sounds ridiculous because I'm getting deep into the waters now, but I even believe we are at a point technologically and supply-wise, there's so much talent out there, so much talent to do things from a business side. We can create our own Hollywood. We can create our own new platform. Any one of us can. It doesn't need to be like a billion people. It can honestly just be a couple of thousand people can sustain your living now. And these big gaudy numbers that everyone keeps throwing out and da-da-da, it's just, we are so way past that shit. And every time that I look at the All City crew, the PHLY crew, and it's the same thing, and I want to be super clear here because I love everyone that is working over at those types of places. I love them to death. I don't think the management on that side that builds those platforms knows what they're doing. I really don't. And I'm scared for their future and honestly, people that just cover the birds in general. So that is what this podcast is supposed to be. It's just here for you, okay? That's my goal. That's my whole goal this season. Of course, I'm going to be here because I know how to do this stuff and yada, yada. But I'm even telling you, my passion for covering a sports team is fading, and I have to be honest with that. It is fading because I love helping people. I'm addicted to that. And most of you have known me as a single-man podcaster. Girlfriends here and there, but never a family. And my priorities are extremely different now. They are. I commend everyone that can hold together the fort while covering other people's lives 24/7. I just can't do that anymore. I can't do that. And I don't say that to mean that the passion for talking about the birds is gone. That is always going to be here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. I'm just talking about the frequency that I might talk about the birds. I don't have that, I got to pump out 20 things, but I do want to be here at a certain time and a certain date every single time because that helps me and it helps you. So every Monday, I will be here. After every game, I will be here. On Thursdays, I will be here. And I believe in talking to you a little bit here and a lot of bit in the Discord, on social, or wherever you feel comfortable, honestly. I love that type of interaction. I think that's great. We can kind of make this our show again. And that's all I want it to be. I just want this to be our show. So I'll be here. I'm going to get the YouTube stream figured out and fired up. I hope to see you there on Friday, and if not, I'm just probably going to live stream in the Discord. So if you don't see it in the description of this podcast at all, hit me up on Twitter at John Barchard. Same on Instagram as well, whatever you're comfortable with. I'll send you the link to the Discord, and we can all chit-chat in there. So I appreciate you listening to me. I really do. I think I'm still trying to find my rhythm of what we can do that's fun in terms of programming and everything else. So I welcome your suggestions. And this really is your show as much as it is mine. And I can't wait for another fucking bird season, everybody. I really can't. I will see you on Friday, 26-21. Go Birds.